For years, America's electric grid had a predictable job. Power the homes, power the stores, power the factories. Keep enough supply ready for the hottest afternoons and the coldest nights. Now, a new kind of demand is arriving faster than many people expected. It does not look like a neighborhood. It does not look like a factory floor. It looks like a large, quiet building filled with servers, cooling systems, cables, backup equipment, and machines running day and night. This is the physical side of artificial intelligence. AI may feel weightless when it appears on a screen, but every answer, every query, every model, and every cloud service depends on electricity. And that electricity has to come from somewhere. According to the Department of Energy and Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, data centers used about 4.4% of all U.S. electricity in 2023. By 2028, that share could rise to between 6.7% and 12%. The range is wide, the direction is not. At the same time, American households are already paying more for power. The Energy Information Administration expects residential electricity prices to rise 5% in 2026. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that electricity prices were up 6.1% over the previous 12 months in April 2026. AI is not the only reason electric bills are rising. Bills are shaped by fuel costs, weather, transmission lines, distribution systems, utility investments, state regulation, and the basic cost of keeping the grid reliable. But AI is becoming another pressure on a system that was already expensive to maintain. The question is no longer just how much electricity artificial intelligence will need. The question is who pays for the grid built to serve it. For much of the last decade, electricity demand in the United States grew slowly enough for utilities to plan with some confidence. Demand would rise in some places, fall in others, and grow modestly overall. That assumption is becoming harder to trust. The Department of Energy's data center report shows how quickly the picture has changed. In 2014, U.S. data centers used about 58 terawatt-hours of electricity. By 2023, they used about 176 terawatt-hours. By 2028, projected use could reach between 325 and 580 terawatt-hours. Those numbers are not only statistics for the technology industry. They are evidence that digital infrastructure is becoming a major physical load on the American economy. Every AI tool needs servers. Those servers need cooling. The cooling needs power. The buildings need backup systems. And the entire operation depends on a grid that has to balance supply and demand every second. That is why AI has moved beyond tech earnings calls and into utility planning, electricity markets, and federal regulatory discussions. The Energy Information Administration expects U.S. electricity demand to rise in 2026 and again in 2027. Data centers are only part of that story. Manufacturing growth, electrification, commercial demand, and broader economic activity all matter. But data centers are different in one critical way. They can arrive as enormous new customers in concentrated areas. When several of them cluster around the same grid, they can change the planning math very quickly. PJM, the regional grid operator serving much of the eastern United States, offers one clear example. PJM has said its peak load forecast for 2026 and 2027 increased by more than 5,400 megawatts, driven largely by data centers, electrification, and economic growth. In the electricity system, peak demand matters. The grid is not built for an average day. It is built for the hours when demand is highest. If the expected peak rises, the system may need more generation, more transmission, more backup capacity, and more investment. That investment does not disappear. It has to be paid for. This is where the AI story becomes a household story. Data centers can bring real economic benefits. They can support construction work, local tax revenue, and the digital infrastructure behind cloud computing, business software, healthcare systems, financial networks, and artificial intelligence. But they also need electricity at a scale that constrains local planning. And the grid was not designed to move at the speed of the AI boom. A technology company can announce a project quickly, investors can pour money into AI quickly, demand for computing power can grow quickly. Power plants, substations, transmission lines, and regulatory approvals do not move that way. They take years. That mismatch is the hidden pressure behind the headline. The public often sees AI as a software race. Better models, faster chips, bigger platforms, more automation. Beneath that race is a quieter race to secure electricity. Federal regulators are already looking closely at this issue. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission has examined larger electric loads, reliability, affordability, market impacts, cost allocation, and the risk of cross-subsidization. The language is technical, the practical issue is not. If a large data center requires expensive grid upgrades, should the data center pay the full cost? Should the cost be spread across all customers? Should existing households and small businesses help fund infrastructure built partly for new private demand? There is no single national answer. Electricity markets and utility rules differ by state and region. But the fairness question is now part of the story. Most households never see these decisions directly. They do not see a utility's long-term load forecast. They do not see the cost of a new substation. They do not see the debate over who pays for a transmission upgrade. They see the bill. A family may use roughly the same amount of electricity as last year and still pay more. A retiree on a fixed income may cut back on air conditioning and still feel squeezed. A small business may not care whether the pressure comes from fuel, infrastructure, regulation, or data centers. It only knows the monthly cost is higher. That is why this issue reaches far beyond Silicon Valley. Electricity is one of the basic prices in American life. When it rises, households feel it immediately. Businesses feel it in operating costs. Grocery stores feel it through refrigeration. Warehouses feel it through lighting and cooling. Manufacturers feel it through machinery. Hospitals, offices, restaurants, and schools all depend on reliable power. A higher electric bill does not arrive by itself. It arrives alongside expensive housing, rising insurance costs, grocery pressure, credit card debt, and retirement anxiety. For many middle-class households, there is less room to absorb one more essential bill. That does not mean the country can simply reject data centers. The modern economy runs on them. Cloud computing, financial systems, logistics networks, streaming platforms, medical records, government services, and AI tools all depend on digital infrastructure. Data centers are no longer a niche part of the economy. They are part of the foundation, and the grid needed investment before the AI boom. Many utilities are replacing aging equipment. Some regions need more transmission, others need more generation. Some are preparing for extreme weather, some are managing population growth. Some are trying to maintain reliability while older plants retire and new resources are added. The problem is not that investment is unnecessary. The problem is how quickly the demand is arriving, where it is arriving, and how the cost gets divided. Build too little, and reliability becomes harder to protect. Build too much too soon, and customers may pay for infrastructure before the demand is fully real. Make data centers pay too much upfront, and some projects may move elsewhere. Shift too much cost onto ordinary ratepayers, and electricity affordability gets worse. Every choice carries a trade-off. The planning challenge is even harder because not every proposed data center will actually be built. In Texas, reporting based on ERCOT data showed hundreds of large data center connection requests through 2032, with an enormous amount of requested capacity. But many of those requests may never materialize. That matters. Grid operators have to prepare for real growth, but they also have to avoid overbuilding for projects that never happen. If they underestimate demand, the system may be unprepared. If they overestimate it, customers could be left paying for infrastructure that was built too early or built too large. This is the uncomfortable position utilities and regulators now face. The AI economy moves on one clock, the power system moves on another, and households may be caught between them. The most realistic future is not a sudden nationwide electricity crisis. It is more likely to be a series of regional pressure points. Some utilities may seek rate increases tied to new load growth. Some regulators may require large customers to shoulder more of the cost. Some data centers may locate near available power. Some projects may be delayed because grid connections are not ready. Some communities may welcome the investment. Others may ask whether the benefits are worth the strain on power, land, water, and local infrastructure. The story will not look the same everywhere, but the direction is becoming harder to ignore. Electricity demand is rising again. Data centers are becoming a larger part of that demand. Residential prices are already under pressure, and the grid needs money, time, and planning to keep up. That is the economic story behind the AI boom. Not just software, not just productivity, not just which company builds the most powerful model. Servers need buildings. Buildings need cooling. Cooling needs electricity. Electricity needs a grid. And the grid needs investment. For American households, AI may seem far away from the kitchen table, but if the cost of serving that demand is not handled carefully, part of the bill could come closer to home. AI may be digital. The power bill is not.